This is the 6th guest episode of the Creative Genesis podcast, and we've named it 6th AD. Check it out. You are listening to the Creative Genesis podcast by Winfluence Media, the show that speaks to professionals in the creative field and entrepreneurs, asking them how they got started so that you too can begin your own journey. If you're looking to step up your journey as a creative or entrepreneur, then you are in the right place. So stay tuned and follow the Creative Genesis podcast, the stepping stone to your success.
I think for all of us, two things. One is believing in ourselves. That's so key. Never being afraid to learn something new. This is something that will always take us forward, I think. Because the moment you stop learning, you stagnate and you're dead.
Hello and welcome. You are tuned into the Creative Genesis podcast with your host, Ryan Lobo. Today I interview the brilliant and methodical documentary filmmaker, Gasper D'souza. In fact, he's the one who inspired me to get into the filmmaking field. He shares his roots, his journey, and his method to his success as a documentary filmmaker and editor. Watch this episode if you are interested to become a documentary filmmaker and also want to understand the method which documentary filmmakers use in their vision and in their editing process. Before we get into this cerebral conversation with Gasper, a short word from our sponsor. Check it out. Content is everything these days, and with the rise of real content, businesses now more than ever need to start employing high converting content for their businesses. Listen to this quote. Without marketing, there will be no sales. And without sales, there will be no money. Without money, there will be no business. Marketing is the name of the game. Are you a business based in Goa? Well, if you are, then we are the marketing partner for all of your requirements. From shooting real content to setting up your very own podcast to shooting and editing professional face-to-camera content for your business, we have the most professional setup for your video production requirements. If you need content on a monthly basis, we are the agency for you. Contact us at videoproductiongoa@gmail.com or WhatsApp us on 7083 401 793 to get to know us better. You can even watch our presentation video on winfluencemedia.in. That's winfluencemedia.in. Winfluence Media, media that wins. Now let's get back into the show. We have Gasper D'souza in conversation, so let's dive right into it. So Gasper, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And in fact, I mentioned this on my first podcast also. After I came back from the Gulf and being a completion engineer, you were the first person I met who was into video production, documentary filmmaking. And that really inspired me. You remember the first time I came over to your house and Matthew introduced us. So it's really great to have you here. I mean, you are
pleasure,
someone that I kind of look up to when it comes to this field. No, I really love your work.
Not really.
So, I always start off with this question. Suppose I had never known you, or suppose my audience had never known you. Gasper, who are you?
Who am I? Isn't that like a deep question to start with?
Yeah. I mean, you can answer it.
Who am I?
Like.
Yeah. Always that's one of my big things these days, these last several years actually, is who am I? But I think in your context, who am I? I don't know. I like to call myself a fluid storyteller, I guess.
Okay.
Because I've never had a very fixed role.
Okay.
Like in terms of work.
Right.
That's the question I'm guessing, right? Who am I? So yeah, it's been several things. I've been writing and editing, so filmmaking, photography,
and then interior design also.
Yeah, so I think it's difficult to nail what I do. In fact, that's exactly what I say on my website. I consider myself, I think that's what I would say I am. I'm a rolling stone.
You're a rolling stone.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I know, because you have done so many things. Like, for example, you helped Matthew design the store
The
as
beer
well. I'm
store,
like,
yeah.
wow, I never knew Gasper does this.
I
you
didn't know it either. I didn't know it either.
So, yeah, I love that, you're always learning, you're always evolving. And I love your inspirations. Like this article which you wrote was very interesting, where you said that editing a movie or editing a film is like stitching and sewing, So things like that just point to.
I didn't just say that because I actually started stitching.
Yeah,
I mean,
know.
I stitched kurtas for myself. I stitched a skirt for my sister. Skirt and a blouse. Of course, she's a nun, so she can wear whatever. It didn't matter how well it fitted her, I guess. But yeah, so I actually did it.
So why do you say editing is like being a tailor?
I mean, historically speaking, if you go back in time, the first editors, film editors, were actually seamstresses,
Really?
females. Yeah.
Okay.
So they literally had seamstresses coming on in the post production, and because it was a matter of like you cut, you stitch, you stick film together, and so they made the best editors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it simply for the technical skill of cutting?
Because I guess at that time it was, I mean, it was a wholly technical. They didn't really have much of a clue as to where this thing is going and how this genre is, how filmmaking itself is moving. So that was purely what it was. But having said that, it's not that I still find today it does have a lot of similarity if you look at it. I mean, you take a cloth, you cut it, you're cutting it into different pieces, and then you're stitching it together. Okay, and that's how anything that we wear comes about.
Yeah.
Right. A little bit off, even a millimeter. That's what I found when I was stitching. Something is a little tight here and doesn't really work. It's exactly the same with editing. You have to cut at the right frame, or something's off. People may not be able to say what is off, but
it's that precise, is it?
It's that precise, yeah. I mean, Walter Merck, one of my he's not directly my mentor, but that's what I would call, because
Your
I've got a
inspiration.
stack of books from him, and he's one of those guys who will always tell you. I mean, if he cannot cut at the same frame, he will play the cut, and if his finger does not hit the cut at that same frame, he knows something's off, and he repeatedly does that, and every single time he will get the cut at that frame.
Wow.
Then he knows that is working.
Wow, that's so intense.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I know a friend of mine who studied editing, like in a university, and he said that, his teacher would ask him, "Why did you cut at the 32nd frame? Why couldn't you cut at the 33rd frame?" Like, it's that precise.
Yes,
It's
yeah,
that precise.
yeah,
And I always wondered, like, why does it have to be so precise? Because it's a matter of fractions of seconds.
Yeah,
Right?
but it makes a big difference in film.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's too similar, I feel, for in terms of sewing, and I mean, you're literally sewing the film together.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. So, in the whole scheme of things, what would you say is your niche? Like, what do you specialize in right now?
The broad area would be documentary, I would think.
Documentary filmmaking.
Because I don't consider myself expert enough in, say, corporate stuff.
Corporate stuff,
Like
okay.
particularly the new media type.
When you say corporate stuff, what do you mean?
Say stuff for social media.
Okay.
It's something that I've not really got into. I mean, I've done work, but it's not my niche.
Short form editing.
Short form, I mean, I have done short form edits of documentary.
Okay.
Like, say, 3-minute, 5-minute documentary. But it's still in that genre of documentary. See, what I like to do is I like to look at rushes
Yeah.
and then make sense out of it. If it is very linear or very staged, which a lot of corporate work is, then I'm not. Okay, I can get it done.
That's
obviously.
like just a simple production.
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if you ask me what is my niche, it's like I would call myself a documentary filmmaker or editor.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
So as I was growing up, I think I was really influenced a lot by documentary films because they talk about real life.
Yes.
It's not a fictional tale. It's like real life. And how do you take a bunch of footage, which we call rushes, and make a congruent story out of it?
This is one of the for anybody who is getting into from your audience into editing, that I would think is the key skill. To be able to look at this mountain of rushes. Okay, some of them are random clips.
Yep.
Because filmmakers may not really know what they're doing whilst they're out on the set, but trying to find a story from that's your skill.
So I was part of a documentary filmmaking workshop for a year. Video volunteers.
Yes.
So we had, they're brilliant people. So we were shooting this documentary on the rise of unnecessary C-sections. And it's the story of my wife. My wife's story, basically. And we had shot like 5-6 interviews and a lot of content. I think we had like 20 hours of footage. And we were supposed to condense it to a 15-minute film. And I had shot a video when we went on holiday to Shillong to like a Irish lady who had done a PhD on this subject. So we had so much content. And our instructor, Mark Ostrich, was our instructor. He's an American filmmaker. So he spoke about the paper edit.
Yes.
So I actually transcribed everything, cut them into papers, and then tried to arrange them. But because it was my rushes were like 20 hours long, I just got completely like sidetracked, like overwhelmed. Have you gone through things like that where there is so much content?
It's very easy to get overwhelmed. One of the first full-length documentaries that I did.
When you say full-length, how long is that?
The short I would consider anything under 30.
Is a short. Okay.
Yeah. For festivals, of course, they say up to 45 minutes is short, and then feature length would be 1 hour.
Okay.
Or above 45 becomes 1 hour. So, in that field, I had this good friend of mine, Vince, who came with like, I think it was 60 or 80 hours of footage.
Wow.
Which he did over 3 years.
Okay.
And then you have to make sense out of it because there wasn't a structured story whilst he was on field. So it had to be, the story had to be literally found in post. So now how do you do it?
So wait, you're saying that while shooting he didn't know what the story would be?
See, because it's a long-term project, right?
Okay.
It's not like a short thing where you do it for a week or something. He literally shot over 3 years, 3 seasons of harvesting and stuff. It was on rice.
Oh, okay.
So at that time, I guess you really don't know where the story is going.
Right.
At that stage, and in his case, that's what he is like. He likes to go out and just document stuff, which is a great thing. But then once you've done that, you've got to come back and you've got to figure how do you tell the story now. And this is not just that. I've seen this in several of the works that I've done now. In fact, a hard drive is now on its way from the Northeast on sound, and the same thing. It's just a collection of clips,
Okay.
and interviews.
Okay.
They don't really have a story. We need to find the story here. So now, how do you do that?
Broad subject.
This is the subject. In this case, is sound. In the case of Vince, it is rice cultivation.
Wow.
Right.
That's it.
But then there are themes that emerge when you talk to people. So sometimes what happens is, what I've found is that when the stuff comes onto the table,
Yep.
and I'm looking at it, maybe there are certain holes in the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, sometimes it's possible to go and get it shot.
Mm-hmm.
The other times that's a skill of the editor to now, if there is a hole, how do you patch it up?
Mm.
Okay. It's not always the case, because there are some there is a lot of documentaries, in fact, which are shot with a pre-script in mind.
Mm.
Right, I mean, you go and you shoot, you know exactly what you want and what's the
Yes.
story you want to
Yes,
tell and
yeah.
everything. So I've worked with both kinds of these things. But yes, I mean, when you say, do you get overwhelmed? No, because I have a nice system, I think, in place right
Oh, yeah?
now, and I use cards. Again, if you follow Waldemark, that's exactly what he does.
Okay.
So he has this big board
Mm-hmm.
in the room,
Okay.
and he has these posted cards.
Mm-hmm.
So you just write whatever you, the themes that may be coming up or things like that, or scenes or whatever. Just put them up on these cards, and then I put them on the wall.
Mm.
So once they're on the wall, what happens is now you're not looking at the rushes, so you're not overwhelmed with that, because that's actually the thing.
Yeah.
Now it's out here, so I can easily keep moving
Yeah.
things around and stuff,
Yeah.
and then things start falling in place.
Yeah.
So once they fall in place, then what I do is
Is it kind of like a paper edit?
it is
Oh,
a paper edit.
oh,
in
it is a
that
paper
sense, it
edit.
is a
Yeah.
paper edit, but
But more broader ideas.
so there are two ways of looking at a paper edit. One is before you go into the field,
Right.
a pre-script,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you come back from the shoot, you do a quick paper edit.
Mm.
But this is a little bit more in depth. Like you're going one step further. Now you've seen all the rushes, you know what is there, and then you're doing these post-it notes on the wall.
Mm.
Okay. I mean, people are now using things like I don't know, you would know better, but like Mira Note and Miller Note and all these things in their apps basically. I'm not too comfortable with that, because I
Yeah.
think there is some charm in having it a tactile note
Yes.
which you can then move,
Yeah.
because the brain, I think, once you're away from the computer, because that's where you're editing, so you're now in another environment, and that's where the brain starts working differently.
Mm.
So you're giving your brain that chance, I think, by doing it physically.
Mm. Interesting. So in my documentary, after reviewing like 20 hours of footage, what I realized is, as you said, there's a hole in the narrative. So at that time, we actually had the freedom to go and shoot some things, because I realized we needed a conclusion for this film. So we actually shot a sting operation on this
Yeah, I've seen
doctor,
that, yeah.
and that happened after during the post production. So it was a very spur of the moment kind of thing, but it worked, thankfully. And Stalin K, such a brilliant. He's the reason that film came together, because he had the actual patience to come and sit with us and analyze it and say, okay, why not this, why not that, or maybe this could be better. I learned so much from his feedback, and I think one of the skills he has is because he works with people who basically know nothing. He works in villages, right?
Yes.
He was able to sit with us and have the patience and have the he didn't get upset with us because we had shot so much. You know what I mean? Because I was getting upset, like, oh my gosh, what did I do?
No, I mean, I know Stalin, and the way he is, I don't think he'll get upset with anything. He's very zen in that sense.
Yeah, he's amazing. So
Yeah.
I give him a lot of credit for bringing that together, But how did you start? Like, how did you come to this stage? Like, tell us, like, from your young days to now, like, what's your journey been?
So I'm a chemistry graduate.
Okay.
So that's how I started. What's the relation with chemistry and what I'm doing now? I don't know. But actually I still love organic chemistry, and that I feel is a lot of storytelling, because how chemicals come together, organic chemicals. Well, of course, I'm not going to put mash them together unnecessarily. That's what I did, and I think after I left college, it's the last thing I.
So you did like a BSc in chemistry?
In chemistry, yeah.
Okay.
I majored in chemistry, single major, that too. I don't know how. Anyway, which is why my kids don't go to school anymore. They are homeschooled
Okay.
all the way. Because I don't know, life just took me. We came down to, that was in Bombay,
Yeah.
Xavier's.
Oh, that was in Bombay. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
So I finished my college in Bombay, St. Xavier's College.
So you, from Goa, you went to Bombay?
No. I was born and brought up there.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah.
Wow.
I finished my school and then college.
Okay.
And then it so happened that we had this decision to make whether to continue to stay in Bombay or come to Goa.
Your parents?
Because my parents my father had retired, and then there was this option. So I don't know, somehow I just went for it. We came down, and I started with a small job with the D'Souza group, in fact. And
Those are the real estate guys.
real estate,
Yeah.
where we did the Heritage Festival,
Yes,
actually.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was my first. I already
Wow, I
told
didn't know
Ralph
that.
he was my first employer in Goa. But then I joined Aptech because I had to continue my computers education. So I had done a 3-year software engineering course,
Oh,
diploma.
that's a long time. That's a long course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So from chemistry, I went on to that.
And was that a full-time course?
No, not a full time, but 3 or 4 times a week, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I used to work and then
Right.
get there, Panjim. Did that, and long story short, I did a lot of software work,
Really?
database development,
Okay.
software programming. I did an ERP system for one
Wow.
pen manufacturing company, Link Pens. You
Yeah,
might
yeah,
have
I know
heard of it.
Link
Yeah,
Pens.
so I did an actual ERP system for their. They had, I think, at that time.
So
in
what's
Goa,
an ERP?
Enterprise resource management.
Okay.
So, like, how do you manage resources, like your stocks and everything,
Okay.
like production to the final pens. There's a system in place.
Right.
So you get SAP and like big time systems, but then not everybody affords that, right? So there are other smaller units which need these type of things. So that's what I did. I created that and stuff. But then I chanced upon this thing where Navin Times needed. In fact, they didn't even need it. I just went and said, I didn't like your website.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was pathetic at that
Okay.
time. There was no Goan newspaper which had a good website.
Okay.
And this was in 2000, and websites were really big at that time. I went and I spoke to the editor and I told him. And since then, he's been a good friend of mine.
Wow.
He said, if you don't like our website, why don't you do something about it? I said, okay. And I think a week later, I came up with a plan, and then they hired me.
Wow.
And a month later, we had a completely new website. And it was the first .com for a newspaper in Goa. None of them had it before.
So before .com, what was it?
No, they didn't have. There was something called Goacom.
Okay.
There was like a
Directory.
aggregation,
Yeah.
directory. So Navin Times was on that.
Oh.
Like it was goacom.com/Navin or something like that.
Ah.
So no newspaper had a website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's when I started. But having said that, I mean, I was very interested in software
Websites,
and websites and everything. But then I started saying, this is the content that's going on the website. This is the stuff that's happening on the website. I love that.
Okay, so you started...
Then I started shooting. I started doing photography for Navin,
wow.
like a photojournalist.
Yeah.
And
Did you did you already know photography or you had to learn?
no, I didn't know anything.
Okay.
I still don't know anything. My daughter was just born at the time. I mean, no, actually my wife was pregnant.
Okay.
And I got my first digital camera,
Yeah?
like a proper digital camera.
It wasn't a film camera.
Kodak. No.
Yeah.
No, I was, unfortunately, I wasn't in the film. So I got the Kodak.
Which one was it?
I don't remember which one. I went to Bombay and I picked it up. It had a lens inbuilt, but you could do all the controls,
Yeah.
full manual. And I started shooting my wife at that time.
Okay.
So documenting that entire process with photography.
Wow.
And that's how I started liking this. So when the opportunity arose in this thing, because I saw that there were magazines which were kind of using stock images from Google and things like that.
Yep.
So I said, why don't I supply these, at least some of these images?
Yeah.
Which is, so I started writing and then supplying the images for that, for my own stories,
Wow.
for the newspaper. So
Okay.
that's how it started.
So it went from photography to now writing about the photograph.
No, writing articles.
Okay.
So I used to write articles, like features for the
Okay.
newspaper,
Okay.
for the magazine section,
Okay.
and then take the photographs needed to support those. Otherwise, the articles, most of them were
Without pictures.
Google or or stock, because it wasn't really at the time. It wasn't really in place where you had your own photography for magazines.
Mhm.
So that's how I started. I got interested in photojournalism, not just photography. So I didn't really enjoy any other thing. Photojournalism was what, like I couldn't stage anything. You ask me to stage someone today, I can't. Pose people and stuff. I can't do that. That's how I started, and then I got a Dempo fellowship.
Okay.
So I was with the Navin Times, but I applied. I got it, luckily.
And
And
what
I
is that
I did
all
I did
about?
a 1 year photo essay, a photo documentation of the fishing activities in Goa, the community as well as the activities.
Okay.
So for a year, I went around shooting, going out into these wooden boats out into the sea, going onto the trawler for like overnight, coming back the next morning, that kind of stuff. Did it for a year, the festivals and stuff, and then created this entire photo essay. That really interested me a lot. This was in 2006 now, so almost 6 years since I started with Navin.
So what is a fellowship like? Do you get a grant?
So they got it for grant, like a
Okay.
grant of 1 lakh at the time,
Okay.
where you could go out and just. So you propose. I mean, every year they don't have it anymore. Unfortunately, actually, Goa needs these type of things. We need a culture where people can, get some money to go out and do stuff. Particularly documentation. So at that time they had this thing, an annual grant, 1 lakh grant, where you could go out and you proposed what you wanted to do. So I proposed this. It was the first time that they accepted like a visual study. It was mainly academics before that. So
Okay.
there were like very renowned people like Fal Desai and who are, they're academically bent. So they came out with these books on different topics. So the first one was on a cultural heritage of Goa. But mine was the first time it was a photo essay, like a photo documentation, not an academic study. And that's also when I met my mentor, Alito. He's no longer there now, but that's how I got to know him, because he became my mentor on that project.
Okay.
And he opened my eyes, actually, because I had this very romantic view of, we used to come down to Goa
Yeah.
and see the fishermen on the beach and stuff and say, this is so beautiful. And that's what we still do, right?
Yeah.
So beautiful. Oh, look at them. They're in that casti, so nice and all that, right? Then he started asking me, but would you want yourself to be there? Or would you want your children to be there? You need to ask these questions. It's not all romance.
Yep.
There is also a reality. If the fishing community is moving away from that into, say, tourism activities, there is a reason for that.
Yeah.
So this is the way I started asking questions, which I think today it holds me in very good stead, because if I'm doing my own film or I'm doing a film for someone else, I can ask these questions. Sometimes we're so naive about these type of things, because we take it for granted. So that's what Alito did for me. He kind of, grounded me, as it were.
Okay.
And after that, I left Navin, but I'm still associated with them till today.
Yeah. You recently released
the 60 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, they completed 60 years. I had done the 50 years film. I did the 60-year film.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, but after that,
did you have to shoot the 60-year film? Did you have to shoot it also?
myself?
Yeah.
No. So yeah, actually coming to that, I don't shoot. I prefer not to. I think filmmaking, this is something that I'm kind of advocating now for anyone. Filmmaking is I think it's a it's a community activity. Okay, it's not a solo job. So you must have a good team in place. And right now, I think I'm blessed because I have these long time. I mean, they were colleagues. Now they are friends. Okay, Jude, Srinivas. We used to do weddings together back in 2005 when I started with weddings. Jude joined me in 2007. Shrini joined me in 2010. Okay, and we've been together all this time. So, but now we kind of know each other. We know what the other guy thinks on the field. Like I don't have to think too much about what someone else is doing. Not that, no, they have to think about what I'm. It's kind of very fluid in that sense now. So that's a blessing, and I think that is what we need. We need to build teams. Filmmaking is about teams. It's not about someone trying to do everything himself or herself. You know, it doesn't work that way.
Yep.
So
and everyone specializes in their
exactly. Like I think story and edits are my forte, but say with Srinivas, for instance, his design sense, his visual sense is excellent. So he does a great job with framing and stuff like that. Now, yeah, you could say, couldn't you do it? Maybe, but I don't think that would do justice to the final product. You know, when each one is doing a particular job on set, that's when you would get the best film.
Okay, so after you finished the fellowship, where did you?
I
left
left
Navin?
Navin.
Okay.
I left Navin. I started with Alito himself. We used to do these workshops in the university, digital storytelling workshops.
Oh, you used to teach?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, the university used to just, pay, but they don't know that I was teaching because then there's a whole load of, I don't know. It was not a formal class. This was Alito's students, only his students. They wanted something, and we used to give these courses to them. And then they would get some credits for that.
Okay.
So that's how it was. So I wasn't really like employed by the university or anything of that sort. That was nice because we used to also go out into the field, and we taught in some schools also at some point.
Okay.
Digital storytelling. Because at that time it was quite new, right? 2007, 8, like you had these, how do you make a short film with photographs, taking my album, family album, putting it all together, making a story. So we taught these techniques of storytelling rather than, and that's not the other thing that I think is important. We don't have just monkeys pressing buttons. That's not the idea. Today AI can do a lot better. But what we really need is storytellers. Like, how do I tell my story? So that was what digital storytelling was all about, is how do you tell my story? If I can't tell my own story, how do I tell your story?
Interesting.
Right, so everybody started with that, a personal story. And then I started working with Euronews.
Okay.
As proper video journalist.
Wait, so how did you transition from a photojournalist to a video journalist?
It just came naturally, I think. I don't
Yeah?
know. Yeah, I mean, so photographs, digital storytelling, which was multimedia, really taking photographs and audio and stuff, putting it together. Then the Canon revolution, of course, with 5D Mark II, I think it was.
That's the one you bought.
The first, because that's when Canon was the only one who did that, right?
Okay.
Took DSLRs and made video capabilities, right? So we got that, started shooting weddings, okay, with that. And I think it was a success at that time, because what we were doing is, even when I started with weddings in 2005, the very first one, it was purely reportage, not staged, nothing staged.
Yeah, so kind of like fly on the wall.
Fly on the wall, yeah.
Just shoot behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Quietly.
Nobody knows you're there.
Indiscreetly.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, discreetly, sorry.
Even the bride and the groom would not know you're in the room. So you're shooting, getting ready, you're shooting the father of the bride coming in. And, that's something that interested me. The whole documentary nature. And it was not it was not something done at that time, of course. So, because at wedding photography back in 2005 in India, in Goa, was staged.
Yep.
Everything was.
Yeah,
you
I think it's
pose.
mostly staged even now.
Yeah, but they all still call it candid, no?
Yeah, they call it candid, but it's.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm no longer there, so I will not comment. But yeah,
Mm.
I liked it because I like to tell stories, and particularly this is something that I believe that it whatever you do today, this is something with like it has to be deep.
Mm.
If these photographs are only meant for Instagram, which unfortunately it is today,
Mm.
wedding photographs, I'm saying, I'm not interested.
Mm.
And I still, I mean, I've had a father call me some couple of months ago. They still remember the photographs that we had taken back then, and they have the album, and they look at it. Okay, that's meaning. So we used to always tell our couples that we're not doing this for you. We're doing this for your children.
Mm.
So don't say, make me look beautiful, make me look this. And luckily for us, none of our brides did that
Mm.
until Instagram came.
Mm.
But sorry, I don't like
That's a good one.
Instagram, as you can say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's about truth, right? Because today, don't you think you want to know what your parents were like
Oh yeah.
and actually see it?
Mm.
Okay, but if they were all going to be smiling and showing their shoes and stuff like that, I mean, I can't use such words, but WTF, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Mm.
So we got out, but that's also how I got into video.
Mm.
And because of that experience with shooting weddings with video, documentary work, I landed this gig with Euronews, and that lasted till the pandemic.
Wow. So you guys were very successful in the wedding industry. Ether Films, right?
Yeah.
Ether Films. And in fact, people still talk about Ether Films. Not the younger generation, but the older guys,
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anyone right now also doing that purely reportage kind of weddings.
Because, see, to be fair to the people who are doing it today, it's not what people want.
Yes.
People do not want, and this is a big pet peeve that I have. I think that people don't want reality anymore.
Okay.
They want something that is unreal.
Fantasy.
Put some filters, put some stuff on. Give me a fantasy. So why would the photographer or why would the wedding team today do that?
Right.
Even if they could, why would they do it? There is no market for it.
Yep. How was the... so your first camera, it was a Kodak, you said. So it only shot photographs.
No, photographs.
It didn't shoot video at all.
No.
Yeah.
I wasn't even into video at the time.
Yeah. So was there like a difficulty in moving from photo to video, or did you just...
No.
No.
Because actually, in fact, at Navind itself, I had proposed that we do a multimedia edition. And at that time, we had, I think, the HV10. It's a Canon. It's like a camcorder. It was the kind of stuff that was used by a lot of solo video journalists back in the US and UK. So I proposed, why don't we do this? And in fact, we were in the process of setting up, and all this stuff happened. But that's also how I said, yeah, there is a possibility here. But that had limitation. The camera, it's a camcorder and small sensor and stuff like that. But the moment Canon brought in the 5D Mark II, Shrini got it first. And when I saw it, I said, that's what we need to do. And then it wasn't it was not easy, because there are certain things you need to keep in mind when you're a photographer and then you're moving into video. It's always
Such as?
See, with photography, it is a one shot.
Hmm.
You take a shot and you're done. Then you look somewhere else. With video, you need to, that's a key. You need to take at least you must like train your mind to think, I need to take a 10-second, 20-second shot.
Hmm.
Like I can't just when I started, I would just press the button, think my shot is done, then go somewhere else. When I came back, it's like 2-3 seconds. You can't do anything with it in edits,
Hmm.
right? So it's a failure. That's the first thing a photographer needs to do. It's like you don't have to keep moving, keep jumping around. Station, get your shot. Then you need to think in terms of sequences. So it's not just like I'll take one wide shot and be done with it, bugger off. No. You take a wide shot, you take a close-up, you try a different angle. Then you can piece it together in an edit.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just taking 1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots, 4 shots. The other thing is focal lengths.
Hmm.
You can't take all of them wide. You've got
Yeah.
to take some wides, some close-ups,
Hmm.
and then you can get a story going in. So you're thinking in sequences. This is where I think my photojournalistic background helped, as opposed to just photography. Because in photojournalism, you're thinking in terms of essays.
Mhm.
So images need to work together to tell a story. So you're already thinking in terms of a sequence there. Now it's just a matter of the technical stuff. 20-second clips, move, try to get different angles of the same thing before you move to the next.
Mhm.
That kind of stuff.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was not really the technical aspect of transitioning from photo to video, but it's the aspect when it came to the edit, you could say,
Yeah.
or the storytelling ability
Yeah.
is different with photography and videography.
Yes. It's similar to photo essays
Okay.
in a sense,
Yeah.
but pure photography, no. Like, because your mind is generally only looking at one shot. You come back with one shot, even if it's a 20-second shot, it's of no use in the post.
Yeah.
Because it has to work with something else.
Mm.
Otherwise, you're just putting random... It's a montage.
Right. Right. So tell us about Euronews. You said you got into. What was that, and how did you get into that?
How did I get into... I think it was through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
My LinkedIn
Wow.
profile, yeah.
So you are a LinkedIn pro since way back.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you had... yeah, you did have Facebook. No Instagram at that time.
Okay.
Facebook was there.
This is which
This
year
is
now?
in 2010.
Okay. So your wedding film career was like 5 years.
In the middle. No, I continued with that. I mean, I think we finished a decade. We
Oh, yeah?
finished a decade in films. I think 12 years.
In Ether.
With Ether, yes.
Yeah.
I think the last wedding we did was back in 2018.
Hmm.
That was, in fact, quite coincidentally, it was one of the first weddings we had done.
Okay.
And now the brother of that bride, he was getting married.
Ah.
And he came back. I mean, the mother came back and said, we want you to shoot it. Great. We shot it, and that was the last.
Wow.
It's cool, actually.
Yeah, actually,
I told
like
I told Shani, I mean, this is cool. This
Yeah.
is like, I mean, this was one of the first.
Full circle.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Like literally with the client itself.
Nice.
So yeah. So I continued till 2018, and luckily, I mean, after that, pandemic struck, and then the entire wedding industry was out. But I had already moved on into edits and stuff. So
Yeah. So what is Euronews and...
that was going around India. Brilliant gig, I would say.
Oh, yeah?
Brilliant, because I didn't go to any of 5-star hotels or anything of that sort. It was like purely into desolate, rundown slums in Bombay, Mewat district, which is, I think, the poorest district in, maybe not in India, but definitely in the north. You come to Gurgaon,
Yeah.
you see these tall skyscrapers with glass facade and everything. And literally, it's like a button is pressed, you're in Mewat, and then it's a completely different thing.
Really?
It's utter poverty, people, lack of education, nothing. Nobody's thinking about them.
So you're basically a traveling journalist,
Yeah,
documentary
like for
filmmaker.
specific things, like so
On a
like
certain
you go,
subject.
Yeah, so there's a school that's doing some interesting work here, there's some NGO that's doing some interesting work there, that kind of stuff. So Chennai, we went to the outskirts where they were working with bonded laborers in salt pans. It was difficult to shoot that.
Was it difficult because of permissions?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's they're bonded laborers.
They're like
How do
slaves.
you shoot?
So
Yeah.
what exactly is a bonded laborer?
Someone who, I mean, they basically brought on a bond. They don't have a life of their own after that. It's like in Dubai, and not to say that all of it works that way, but where you have these stories of people having their passports taken,
Yeah.
and then they cannot move out.
Hmm.
That's exactly what happens in a lot of places in India.
Really?
Yeah.
So you are brought from your village. How does it work?
Yeah, you're brought as a migrant laborer.
Okay.
You don't have a say in this because you're poor.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You're brought. This is a job. People are going to be making money. So this is one. Salt pans is one thing. There are those brick kilns. That's another thing. Where it only purely works on bonded laborers. In fact, I'd done another one with Sonia Valero. So we went to. There was a time when we went to UP and Nepal, following the story about kids who were kidnapped, and they ended up as bond laborers in a brick factory in Nepal. And then we had to just follow their path as to they'd already been found, but she was doing the story on how to, how this whole thing happened and why it happened. And so we went from this rural Uttar Pradesh across the border into Nepal. And we actually landed up at the factory where these boys were kept. And it's quite scary, actually.
Yeah?
I mean, Sonia's really... that's journalism for you.
Okay.
I have not seen any journalists like that till date.
Why? What happened?
So she needed to follow the story. She couldn't just be like hearsay.
Okay.
The NGO tells me this is what happened. I will write my story, which is what usually happens. If the engineer told the guy told her that this is where they went and this is how they went, this is the route that they took, we followed that route. We went across the border. We spoke to the cops along the way, who were not very happy talking to her. So that kind of stuff, and then we ended up at the factory where these guys were. That guy came to know, the factory owner came to know somehow that, she didn't say that this is what we are doing. She said something else, but she wanted to see what the situation was like inside. He came to know at some point. He made some phone calls. We realized we were out of there. Like, just got out of there. Because we knew that this guy was calling this somebody. So that kind of stuff. So what I'm saying is that this is the kind of stuff that I love doing. And Euronews was really instrumental in those type of stories. They were not interested in fluff. So, and today, even if I were to do this thing, there is no television channel, to be honest, in India, which will take it. Right? They need prime time debates, shouting matches, that kind of stuff.
That's why I love documentary films.
Yeah.
Because you see things about the world which you wouldn't normally see on popular media.
Yeah.
Even Stalin's film about untouchables.
Yes.
Oh man, I had no idea the depth of the issue in India, because city people, we hardly come across that. So it was a real eye opener. But okay, coming back to bonded labor, I've never heard of bonded labor. So what do you mean? They're basically kept up these brick factories? Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, it's just that. I mean, you bring these people in.
Yeah.
You bring these laborers in. They are human beings, but you treat them as purely for their work that they're doing. They're given a certain amount, but that's usually at the end of their term. So for the 6 months when the factory is running, you have they're there. They are kept in Chennai, for instance. They were kept in these enclosed compounds. They can't go out. Nobody comes in. That kind of a situation. So they are stuck there for the entire duration of what they were contracted to do.
7 days a week.
There's no holiday, nothing of that sort. It's just like you're there. And I've really seen it. I mean, this guy had blisters on his, really old man, blisters on his feet.
Mhm.
You know, no medicine, no medical help, nothing. He just had bandages around it, and that was it.
And
People die.
Yeah. And you said these kind of industries purely work on bonded labor.
Yes, most
Do you
of
mean
it.
that they cannot work with regular labor force?
Of
or-
course they could,
But,
but it's costlier, I guess.
Mm.
And this is easy. So there are contractors, takedars or whatever they're called, contractors.
Mhm.
So a contractor will go into a village, promise the world, pick up the best bodies that he gets. It's literally the picking up bodies.
Mm.
Picks up the bodies. He's responsible for the factory now, for these guys.
Mhm.
He goes, he sells them. He gets a cut of
Mhm.
their earnings.
Yep.
He makes certain that they are there. How do you do that? You don't give them the money. You take away everything basically from them. No contacts, nothing. They are within that industry for the entire duration that the owner needs them.
Mm.
After which they are given some amount and sent back.
Sad.
Now they don't have an option really, so otherwise they wouldn't obviously do it.
Mm.
So then they come back the next year. It's like that.
Wow. So Euronews basically told you to follow certain stories.
Yeah, it was mainly social education development based stories.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you shot and edited?
Yes.
Okay.
I shot, scripted. I mean, it was solo
You're a
journalism.
one-man.
Solo journalism at that
Yeah.
time. Yeah. It
Wow.
was solo. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it was exciting. I mean, even going to the hotels and alone,
Yeah.
and after seeing things like this in the field that
Mm.
night, yeah, it was.
So for what were the durations you were away from home?
3-4 days.
Okay, not
Yeah.
very long.
No.
Okay.
They were single. They were short, like 3-minute stories. I would say.
Oh really?
3 to 5 minutes max. That's
Such short ones.
Yeah, short ones.
And are they still available online?
On the Euronews plus on my website. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got to check these out. So, when it comes to inspirations, especially now that you're majorly into documentary filmmaking and editing,
Yeah.
who are the inspirations? Like, what inspired you to become a documentary film editor?
What inspired me? Like people?
What? Who? Yeah.
I don't know. I just found that to be my cause. See, I was doing documentary for Euronews, right? They were short pieces, but they were still documentary. And from all of the things that I was doing, like scripting it, directing it, shooting it, editing it, I found that the post was where I was like really myself.
Mm.
For one thing is like now I've come back with all of these stuff, although I had gone planned like with some ideas in mind, but when you come back you're kind of trying to find these things, which is what I said earlier. That's something that really resonated. So I said, yeah, this is what I want to do. And then I was reading a lot about how Walter Merck works and his entire thing, particle fever, the film that he's done, documentary film. I just looked at all of these things and I said, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So that's what.
Yeah, editing is a brilliant field, especially if you do something meaningful. Like I really find a lot of meaning in documentary filmmaking, as opposed to doing like weddings weddings also are important, but documentary films telling stories, it's amazing. It's very powerful.
True.
Powerful.
See, I'm not going to say that weddings. I mean, I don't put it down. When I was doing it, I had a certain idea in mind that I'm going to be doing a documentary. Even when it came to weddings, it's a documentary. So interview people, talk to the parents, talk to somebody else, and get things done that way. So this was now back in 2010 when Shani and I was working together. That time it was never being done. It was just purely one long film.
Yeah.
But that's what was interesting to me, because then I realized people, when they saw the thing, a lot of them said that, this really brought tears.
Yeah, I don't know whether it was Jude or Srini. they said that you'd go into a room, interview the father, come out, father is crying. You'd go into the bride's room, interview her, bride is crying when you come out. So you had the ability to get those emotions out, asking the right questions.
It's purely because of the documentary background again. Like,
Yeah.
and I like people.
Yeah.
I like people. I mean, I like their stories.
Yeah, you like the stories.
I don't like people. I can't go to a party. I will run away in 2 minutes. But I like people in the sense I like to hear stories.
Mm.
And they say I'm a good listener. At least my wife says it. So I can listen. I don't like to So once you start talking, it's like this is the opposite right now. For me.
Yeah. So along your journey, what are some of the hurdles you faced? Because many creatives, I think this is a very challenging field because you are not employed full time. You are making your own avenues. You're exploring your creativity and relying on others to pay you for your skills, your skill set. What are some of the hurdles you face that people could learn from?
Don't be a one-trick pony is what I would say. That's the first thing. Particularly someone who's starting out. You can't be a one-trick pony here.
So you have to...
you have to know different
diversify.
skills. You have to be able to... it's like this book, Who Moved My Cheese?
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I would say. Like, I know, and I feel sorry sometimes, but I know photographers, for instance, who are... They say, I don't know anything else. So that's why they are doing weddings.
Mm.
But you cannot do that today. So what I did was I saw opportunities and I jumped. I was not afraid to invest. In fact, when I left Navin, my daughter was 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Not many fathers would leave because there's no other breadwinner as such at that time in the family. My parents were old.
Mm-hmm.
So I left because I saw an opportunity in multimedia. And I realized it wouldn't happen here, so I need to now move in order to develop this further.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a great thing I did at that time because, I mean, till today, as you know, Navin, all these, that's the other thing. I like to keep these relationships. So that's another, even you say challenge, that's one of the things that will hold you in good stead. Keep your clients. So I don't just, throw my clients. I mean, Matthew is like, I don't call them clients anymore. I mean, to call Matthew a client is like sacrilegious. He's a friend. He's a very good friend. Okay, same thing with Navin. Very good friends. Today, I am still working there. Whoever it is. I mean, there were so many in Nalini. I've been working with her now. This is her third film that I'm working with.
Wow.
We're going to be doing another one later this year. And that's the beauty of these kind of relationships. You've got to maintain your relationships. That's key if you want to survive in the gig world. And be very, very open to learning. So from shooting to editing, color grading, done it all.
Yeah.
So
recently you've gotten into color grading, right? I mean, not too long ago.
Yes, not too long
ago. Bought the whole console. And
Yeah, and that's the thing. I said no. This is something that I want. This is a service that I can add to. See, I don't take color grading as a just in a silo. So I'm also editing for these clients, but now I'm giving them another
so
service.
You don't only color grade.
No, I do something once in a while. I mean, that's not something that I'm pushing. I don't push for that. I got the entire system in place because I said, okay, this is a service that I can offer my clients, and it's brilliant because now they can get that done here in Goa, as opposed to going to Bombay and wherever else. I mean, the previous documentary, the one with Vince, even the first couple of the first film that we did with Nalini and me, all the color grading was done outside. Now I can do it here. It's it's convenient for
Yeah.
so you're thinking also from that perspective, no? So this is also, I mean, besides a personality thing, it's also like the convenience. That's why a client comes back.
Hmm. Interesting.
So this is, I mean, if you have challenges, I feel this is where you start.
Yeah. And I want to thank you for. So before we were shooting on a DVX 200, which is a Panasonic, and a GH5. Now both of them have the same micro four thirds sensor, but slightly different color side. So thanks for helping us to create that LUT. Remember I sent you that?
Yeah.
So, but now we moved to two GH5, so we don't need
Perfect.
we don't need to color grade it. But lovely. So now we're going in for a short break, and we'll be back with the Tandoor Round. Restaurant owners, pay attention. If you are into the F&B space, then you know how important quality images are for your social media requirements. Having eye-watering images for your dishes will either make or break your restaurant business. We at Vinfluence Media have tied up with India's leading image solutions company to bring you high-quality food photography solutions with flexible packages for all the restaurant owners in India. With a presence in more than 70 cities of India, if you want high quality food photography, email us at videoproductiongoa@gmail.com or WhatsApp us on 7083 401 793 today to get to know your packages. Did you know that 70% of companies are investing in content marketing for their business today? So what are you waiting for? If you want your food to start flying off the shelves, then email us at videoproductiongoa@gmail.com today. Winfluence Media, media that wins. Alright, so we're back and it's time for the Tandoor Round. Okay, so the Tandoor Round is a rapid fire question
Do I
round.
get beer with the tandoor?
No, you get tea. So
Urak maybe.
Urak maybe. Yeah, it's time for Urak, no, this season. Yeah. So it's a rapid fire question where the questions get hotter and hotter. Okay? And we do this to really get to know the personality of the guest. So the first question is, what's your favorite dish?
Tandoor.
Tandoor? Yeah.
No, steak.
Steak.
Yeah.
How do you like it?
Medium rare.
Excellent choice. Your musical genre, what type of music do you listen to?
Country.
Country? Oh, interesting. What is a business book that you would recommend to people? I mean, we are creatives, but at the same time, we have to be a little business savvy. So, would you recommend any business book? I know I've come to your house, you have a lot of books.
Business for what?
Just a general business book or business acumen or something to do with.
I've not really read too much of that. I mean, Who Moved My Cheese is one of the best business books, if you
Oh,
ask
really?
me. Yeah.
Wow.
Because it really tells you exactly what a business needs to do, right? Keep finding the opportunities and moving forward. Otherwise, your cheese is gone and you're gone.
Wow.
So
I never expected that. Yeah. I mean, you would not think of that book as a business book. You know what I mean?
That's
I mean, it's
exactly
quite
what a business needs to do.
Yeah.
And particularly today, I mean, you have such short cycles, Instagram,
Oh, yeah.
story cycle. It's like, it's gone, right? So what's going to happen tomorrow, has anyone asked, when Instagram goes? And it's going to fold at some point, right?
Yeah.
People are building entire businesses only on that one thing.
Right. Interesting. Okay. Next question. What is a self-development book that you would recommend?
Self-development book. I mean, I've read so many.
What's one that comes to mind?
You know, I mean, there are books, of course. You're talking business?
No, general self-development. This does not have to do with
The
business.
book.
The book?
The book.
Oh, I've never heard of this. What's
The
this?
book. Just Google it.
Okay.
It's
It's such a generic
Alan
name
Watt.
that if
Alan Watts.
Alan Watts.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a book on finding meaning, I would say. Like your place in this entire...
Like the who are you question.
The who are you question. Yeah, exactly. In fact, it is the who are you question.
Yeah?
It is. I mean, the reason... I don't want to spoil everything. I mean, it's a book on philosophy. I mean, obviously, Alan Watts, that's what he was. a Zen exponent, proponent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, proponent.
took from the East and gave it to the West.
Mm.
So it's written in a very easy to understand because that's what the West wants, right? Otherwise, it's very esoteric in the
Yeah.
East.
It's the book
The
on
book.
the taboo
Yeah.
against knowing who
yes.
you are.
Yes.
So basically, it tells you not to define yourself in one thing. Is
Yeah.
that
I
what
mean,
they're trying to say?
you know what Zen is, right? I mean, it's
Kind
a
of.
non-dual, like a non. We are born and brought up in a society which is dualistic, and today it's become like.
When you say dualistic, what do you mean?
I mean, look at what's happening today. It makes me nauseous, right?
With
This
regards
whole
to?
polarized nature of society. You're either on this or that, left or right.
Okay.
Okay, and unfortunately, India is leaning too much to the right. I think now.
Mm.
Of course, it's not a political program, so let's not get there. But that's the dualistic nature.
Mm-hmm.
There is a middle ground,
Mhm.
and that's what you need to find.
Mm.
Because otherwise, we're just simply, that's an outsider. We are Goans. That's a foreigner. We're Pakistani. We are Indians. That's somebody.
Mm.
At the end of the day, who are you?
Mm. Interesting.
I started this journey actually in 2014 when I went to Himachal
Okay.
for a long trip, like I think 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's when I started looking at in Buddhism first, but then really Zen.
Mm.
And then I came across this book. I would recommend. I mean, I've given this literally to people.
Yeah.
Like, take this copy, and then I bought another one for myself.
Mm.
But now I'm not doing that because I've marked it.
Uh-huh.
But I can buy you a copy if that is.
Mm.
But yeah, it's quite interesting because half of the stuff that we are told,
Uh-huh.
whether it's nationalism, religion, whole load of things,
Yeah.
it's a pure construct. It doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
Then who are
Yeah.
you at the
Yeah.
end of the day?
Hmm.
So if that the book
Interesting.
I recommend for growth, yeah.
Wow. It's funny that you mentioned Zen. I was speaking with Rahul Dukuna the other day. And he was telling me, yeah, sometimes we call Gasper Yoda. Gasper's like, he's not reactive, He really thinks before he speaks. We call him Yoda. So lovely. I'm glad that
But it comes from here.
Yeah?
The last, I think, my app will tell you. I have tried this practice. I mean, all your viewers, I think,
Mm-hmm.
if they want to. This meditation, Zazen,
Mhm.
it's meditation on the breath,
Okay.
which you do for however long you can hold it.
Okay.
Take the thoughts out of your head.
How does it work?
So you just sit in a normal place. Zazen is a little bit more strict, that you sit with your back straight, hands folded, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. But you could even be sitting in a bus for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've got this thing, focus only on the breath and the rising and the falling of your abdomen.
Mm.
Just that. Your eyes may be closed, open. You take a call. Any thought that comes,
Mm.
send it away. So you bring yourself back to the breath.
Mm.
Challenge you to start doing it, and you will see within a few seconds
Mm-hmm.
you will be somewhere else,
Really?
and you will forget your breath.
But then when you're somewhere else, aren't you thinking of something
you're thinking.
else?
Yeah, that's what thoughts.
Yeah, but then
Thoughts.
you just said if you get a thought, throw it away.
Correct. You wouldn't do that. You tend to, what we tend to do. That's the entire duration of our lives and our living life itself.
Mm.
The day and the life is you're following your thoughts.
Mm.
We're always living in our thoughts, which is either in the past
Mm.
about what someone did to us, or in the future, what somebody is going to do, some fear, anticipation, or whatever, right?
Mm.
So, the vacation I'm going to take next month was playing on my mind, and I'm always thinking about that. Vacation comes, vacation goes, then I'm thinking about, oh, that was such a nice, beautiful thing. You're never in the present moment.
Mm. So this Zen meditation.
So the
helps you?
meditation is basically where you're talking about like why the breath, because that's the closest thing. You wherever you go, you have your breath, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't have your breath, you're dead. So that's why the breath. It could be anything, obviously, but the breath is because it's something that doesn't need anything else. But you're not thinking about it. You're not saying like, oh, this is like I'm breathing heavily, I'm breathing lightly. That's again a thought. You're just saying breath.
Okay.
Okay. Now you do this thing over a period of time. I'm guaranteeing you will be pretty balanced in life.
I need to try this. I was doing this Hawaiian meditation. I think it's something similar.
Yeah.
But I'll try this. Yeah. I think this can be added to the Hawaiian meditation. Well, anyway, next question.
It helps with editing, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you're always in the present moment. Then what does an editor need? Every time you're looking at a cut, you need to look at it fresh. Okay. You cannot think that, oh, I've already seen this thing. I know what's going to happen next. Because then you may miss something.
Yep.
So every time you're looking at the cut, you need to think about it fresh. Fresh mind. So you're in the moment.
Yep.
This moment. Not the last time you watched it, not what's going to happen next.
Interesting. Wow. Well, okay, next question. What are the type of people you like to be around?
Like-minded, I would say.
Yeah.
But people who would challenge me also. Like I don't need to be around people who are always going to say yes to you. But like-minded in the sense, I don't like someone who's too antagonistic or things like that. But you challenge me, and then I'm happy with that.
All right. Can you recall a time someone said something that hurt you?
Not really. Again, it comes down to the mindset. It's balance. I don't think anyone's there to hurt me.
So even in the past, or you don't like to think about it?
No, it's not that I don't like to think about it. It's been several, maybe like I said, 2014, 14, 15. It's too long to be holding on to it. No, what's the point?
Okay, interesting.
It's not going to take you anywhere.
That's true.
Right. So
absolutely.
why should you hold it?
Yeah, absolutely. What are the type of people you don't like to be around?
Gossip mongers.
Gossip mongers. Why is that? What's the reasoning behind it?
Isn't it? I mean, you have these things, right? The I don't want to say classify the mind, but the lowest is type of conversation is about people. Then it's about events, and then it's about ideas.
So there's a hierarchy.
Yeah.
So when
Think
people
about it.
talk about people,
So when people talk about people, that's the lowest level.
okay.
That's not a place where I like to be. People talk about events and things happen. Oh, we went there, did that. Fine. That's middle ground. And then you talk about ideas, philosophy, politics, whatever it may be. Not people. That's the highest ground.
Wow. Interesting stuff. All right. Okay. What is now the last question? All right. What is one thing people don't like about you?
I don't know. Shouldn't you ask someone who knows me? What is it they don't like about me? Good question. Not my wife, of course.
Whoever.
She doesn't like a lot about me.
I think that's a general case with everyone.
I really don't know.
No?
I don't know. I mean, see, here's the thing. There are very few people that I am close to.
Okay.
Like my friends,
Yeah.
my family, you know, very few people who I'm
Yeah.
close to. I don't think that they have anything to not like about me. They would have told me. Okay? Jokes aside, they would have told me. Anyone else, I care to hoots. What I wear, how I behave, what I say. I mean, if you don't like it, you don't like it. That's cool.
Cool. Nice. How did you like the Tandoor Round?
Still, the beer would be good. I like beer a lot. Huh?
Oh, yeah. Lovely.
Should stop it, of course.
But I mean, it doesn't look like you drink beer. I mean, the typical look of someone who loves beer is like a beer belly, which you don't have. So that's a good thing. All right. So let's get back to the interview. Now, I know the pandemic is over, but we are still suffering with the after effects, right? I know you said obviously weddings stopped during the pandemic. This Euro thing also stopped. Euro news thing also stopped.
It didn't stop
So-
because of the pandemic, but yeah,
Yeah.
that was because of Qatar and all the other financial crisis.
Okay. So how did the pandemic affect you, your business, your life, your like? Did you have to pivot? Like, tell us what effect did it have on you?
Positive.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people died, and I lost close friends.
Mm-hmm.
My wife's cousin died, so it was quite stressful. I mean, I don't know if you know Santiago.
No.
So he was running the director of the Goa University Choir,
Okay.
and we were working together for the Ketevan Music Festival,
Mhm.
where I was doing the entire post production closely, and then it launched. I mean, we released it online that year because it was 21, the second wave.
Mhm.
Released it online, and the next week he got COVID, and less than a month later he died. So it has affected in that sense, because after that I was quite devastated for almost a year, I would think.
Really.
Yeah.
I know when your mentor passed away. Also,
That was in 2019,
Yeah.
before the pandemic.
Yeah, that also quite
Yes.
affected you.
Yeah. I mean, these were. I mean, of course, Alito. That's because that is on another level, because I didn't expect that to happen, and like if I am working on a story today, I would tell him. So it was that, and I know that he had insights to offer.
Mm.
So in that sense, gone too soon, I would say. But it's life,
Mm.
so you can't really.
Yep.
What really helped me during those days was the meditation, because my
Okay.
mother died the year before, I think. Then he died, and then Santiago died. This is like, I think anyone would have been in a a different state, but the meditation balanced me.
Mm.
But in a good way, I would say. If your question was what is the effect of the pandemic, I think besides that, where we've all lost people, I think it was good for me,
Mhm.
because it helped me introspect. We had so much of free time, and it made me think as to what is it that we really need.
Mm.
It really opened my eyes that there were so many things that we don't really need, and we were holding on to it,
Mm.
right? And then the pandemic suddenly took it away, lockdowns and all this took it away, and then we still managed to go on living.
Mm. Yeah.
So in that sense, like just in like thinking about it philosophically, it was good.
Yeah. What about business? I mean, were you still getting work? Were you still editing? Or what was
Thankfully,
happening?
yes. Not the first year. First year of the pandemic, I think all production had stopped, right?
Mm.
So the first big lockdown, Modi's grand plans, that was bad. The second year was okay. I mean, things happened, like the Ketevan festival, and then there was a couple of other projects that came in. And since I was editing, I didn't have to travel. So the
Yeah.
travel bans didn't affect me.
Mm.
Things were coming, and then this is where I'm saying you grab opportunities. I started looking at the remote work
Mm.
and the remote workflow, and today it's so simple. So I mean, people like Frame.io, they're making it so simple to collaborate with people.
Mm.
So you don't have to be sitting in the same room anymore,
Yeah.
or the same
Do you use
city.
Frame.io a lot?
Completely.
Wow.
Now my business is only running on that, because most of my clients are not living in Goa.
Mm.
So they may be living in Bombay or living outside of Goa.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you connect with them and say, okay, yeah, this is what I mean. It's through Filmmaking.
Nice. And as far as I know, Frame.io works with Premiere. Does it
No,
work with
no, no,
DaVinci?
no, no, no.
Or
Sure.
it works with DaVinci as well?
Adobe bought
Yes.
Frame.io, but Frame.io was an independent thing. In fact,
Yes, I know that.
Resolve was better with Frame.io.
Oh, really?
That's the original the Connect, but it still continues today.
Wow.
You can still export directly from Resolve or Premiere. It doesn't matter.
Nice. Because now Frame.io is like integrated into Premiere.
Yes, but it's also integrated into
Oh, yeah?
Resolve. Yeah,
Ah, okay.
From the export of Resolve, the deliver page,
Yeah.
you can directly send into Frame.io, and any comments will come as comments in your timeline.
Nice. I really liked Frame.io.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
fact, I was thinking of getting a subscription, but then Adobe bought it
Bought
over.
it,
Now
yeah.
it's like free
Yeah,
for
yeah,
us
yeah.
for a certain limited number
Yeah.
of
But it's
projects.
good enough.
Yeah,
It's good enough.
It's amazing. But unfortunately, I want to work on more projects where there are, like documentary films where the client is away.
No,
And then,
any kind of projects. I mean, recently I did something which was like a firefighting for somebody, 2-day work. And how do you collaborate with them because they were not here? Commercial stuff. So Frame.io was the only way to get it done.
Lovely. So you've gotten a lot more remote work after the pandemic.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, people are, I think, more open to that now.
Yeah.
They don't want that I need to sit down and be with the editor. Of course, I never liked that. So, and most people don't do that. But now people are more open to using these tools.
Amazing. Okay. What would you say are your keys to success and getting more work? What tips would you give to younger people?
I think, social media to an extent is a good thing, but I don't think it's something that you need to be spending so much time on, which is what we are doing today. I feel if you are in downtime, try to go back to some personal projects. Spend more time on that. Because it's those personal projects which will give you the next client.
Yep.
As opposed to purely just putting... I mean, the fluff on social media is so much today. It's mind-boggling. I would highly recommend reading Deep Work, Cal Newport.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's exactly what I think people need to focus on. So even if you have downtime, I would say do small projects of your own and then put them on social media. Use it as a tool, not as an end game.
Excellent.
So that's one way I would think you can continue to get your clients. Once you have them, keep them. Don't let them go.
Yeah.
So so relationships is the next thing. It's a big thing.
Yeah. Very important. So any future plans? Any business opportunities you see coming up? What are you planning?
So I've started this studio of mine, White Brick Post, I call it, purely for post-production. Future plans, I am really looking at now doing studio work, like studio productions.
Like what do you
meaning, where I'm not waiting for somebody to come in and say, okay, here's a project, can you edit it? Or which is okay, which is great when a meaningful project comes, that's great. But also I want to now self-initiate certain like documentary films and stuff from the studio.
Wow. Yeah.
And start putting those out.
That's a very interesting field because you come up with an idea like this would be a great documentary film, but then I think you have to pitch it to get funding, right? I don't know how it works. So in short, could you tell us how it works?
So yes, you do have to pitch it to get funding, but you can also, if you really believe in a project, I think you can also just go out there and start doing it. And once it's done, then pitch it.
Okay.
So there are festivals where you can pitch a finished film.
So you're saying self-funded?
You self-fund. This is one way of doing it, obviously. The other way of doing it is if you can just find some good patrons.
Mm.
You know, people who believe in your work, but for that you have to first do.
Yeah.
So they believe in your work and then they fund you.
Hmm. I mean, to be honest, it's kind of a mystery how this works to me.
It is always a mystery because it's too complicated. And funding is way too complicated, more than it really needs to be actually.
Mm.
I don't know. It's because see Netflix and stuff like that. You and I cannot directly approach Netflix.
Yep.
Right. You need to go through certain agents.
Mm.
Uh, there's no mention of them anywhere.
Mm.
So you really have to be in the field
Mm-hmm.
and through some contacts get there, and then hopefully Netflix will take it. So what's the alternative is, I think, to do your own stuff. Like look at All That Breathes,
All That Breeds.
the film that went to the Oscars this year.
Okay.
One of the two films. So that was the documentary film, and the other one was Elephant Whisperers, which was a short. They won. But I think All That Breeds was even better.
Mm.
And now it's on Hotstar. This is such a simple story, if you look at it.
All That Breeds. I got to check this out.
It's about this Delhi, two brothers and a friend. They were saving birds, these birds of prey, particularly during Kite Festival time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them get maimed and stuff like that. Wings are broken. So it's about these guys who are taking care of these birds. Simple story.
And it's a documentary film.
Documentary film, yeah. It was in the long docs, like feature length docs, yeah.
So how do you think that worked? Were they self-funded, and any idea?
I don't know. In fact, it's a good question because I know the cinematographer on that.
Oh, you do?
Sumo Sai. Yeah, he was in, I don't know, he used to be in Donapal. He used to stay here.
Okay.
I knew him through Alito again.
Okay.
Good friend of Alito, so that's how I knew him. He's one of the cinematographers on that. But they went to festivals and they just started winning awards at festivals. Of course, it takes money and stuff to do that. But as a result of which, it got them into the Oscars. And as a result of which, Hotstar has picked it up and now it's on Hotstar.
Wow.
So what I'm trying to say is that we need to put our stuff out there.
Yep.
And if it is meaningful work, if it is deep work, it will get picked up. That's what I would say.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting actually. I'd love to speak more about that because from what I know, there's not a lot of money in documentary films in India, but in the West there is.
Hopefully
like
it'll
more.
change after these two Oscars that we are talking about.
Yeah,
maybe.
God willing, because documentary films are beautiful. So that is the passion. Do you have any like side projects or passion projects? Like I know you had an experiment with sewing, like stitching, but currently
Wine.
Do you drawing?
Wine. I've made wines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ah.
And I've even sold some. Without excise, of course. Yeah, but
nice. Yeah. Interesting.
It's quite interesting. Yeah. But again, it's a slow kind of process, and I guess that's what gels with me, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's so slow, right? I mean, you can't hurry the wine out just by putting more yeast or something like that. So nothing happens. But watching it and stirring it every day, and finally after 6 months, 8 months, a year, tasting it, and people say it's lovely.
Yeah, I made wine once. My grandmother gave me the recipe. But are your wines like sweet wines, like the port wine, like a dessert wine, or like the traditional
Dry.
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 I've never tried that.
I like dry.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, you can do it either way, right? But I like dry, so which is why I keep it dry.
Nice. Wow, very interesting. So great. This interview has been very meaningful. Thank you for that.
Hopefully.
If people want to get in touch with you, social media or whatever, where would you like them to go?
My website.
GasperD'souza.com.
Gasper D'souza. DESOUZA.
Excellent. All right. Do you have any parting message for the audience? Anything you'd like to share?
I think for all of us two things. One is believing in ourselves. That's so key.
Mm-hmm.
Never being afraid to learn something new.
Mm.
This is something that will always take us forward, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because the moment you stop learning, you stagnate and you're dead.
Mm.
So that's one of the first things that I would say. But before that is being balanced, and that is so important today.
Mm.
Finding that balance and that meaning where we don't get polarized and just running behind people.
Wow. Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. So thank you so much, Gasper. It's been a pleasure having you.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So that was another episode of the Creative Genesis podcast. Please subscribe and share this episode so that more people can find the incredible stories behind people like Gasper. Thank you very much.
You're doing a good job, so many people should subscribe.
Thank you. Well, that was the 6th AD episode of the Creative Genesis podcast. What did you think about it? We would love to see your comments in the comment section of YouTube. And please subscribe to this channel so that more people get to see this brilliant content. This podcast is also available on various podcasting platforms. So instead of watching, you can listen to it. Also, do rate us on Apple Podcasts so that more people get to know about these brilliant speakers on the episodes. Thanks for tuning in and see you next time.